There we are. You are live. That's what it says. So, welcome to Gordox Pub. Working on the not metal album cover painting tonight, right? For a giveaway.
Yeah, I keep calling it possible giveaway, not just white album cover.
It's
It's weird. This painting is straight on my desk, but it doesn't look like it. So titanium black. I don't even know if I'm going to use it. I think I'm going to mix a little bit of dark gray up, but before I try that, I'm going to try some bone black. Carbon black, not bone black. I think I do have bone black as well. That wouldn't actually be the name of it. Sucks it comes out that's barely a squeeze and probably gonna last me most of the time. So I'm gonna thin that down because my real goal with this is now I know I had a flat last time. There it is. Oh. You just want to glaze. So I'm not intentionally trying to sabotage myself. But
yeah.
Usually acrylic dries darker, so I'm gonna paint lighter over the darker anyway. Hey, look at that. I was dead on predicting how many viewers we had.
Hey now. But they normally show up a little bit later.
Yeah.
Is that your cat?
No, that's Eli.
Cat thing?
That's Eli imitating the cat. That's Eli meowing to imitate the cat.
He called me today.
He did, huh?
I was in class, so I didn't pick up. But then he messaged me that you know, streaming tonight. I was like, okay, I'll be there. It was like 7:45, 8:15. I was like, okay. One of those has to work.
Well, yeah. So normally he starts setting up at 7:45.
That's what I kind of thought it might have been.
So he probably just related the two.
Right.
That cat sound effect thing, that's something I love, but you don't actually catch him doing very often. I've been trying to catch him do it to record it for a long time. So now I'll be on the stream. It got really dark really fast.
Good.
Darker than I intended it to be.
Oopsie. Yeah, I'm being the most talkative co-host ever. Sorry about that. I'm just watching you paint. You know.
Well, nobody's
Brilliant
watching.
discourse right there. Yeah, but still.
They say you're supposed to not be quiet. They say you're not supposed to be quiet. That way, if anybody walks in, then it's not walking into dead silence.
No, yeah.
That's what they say. That's the idea.
That'd be more
good streaming. I have.
Wow.
I don't know how to good stream.
So the school I'm in now, once a month, they want us to do a club. And it's not outside of school hours, so we're not getting paid more for this. And I was like,
Right.
okay.
They want
So
you to
just
volunteer your own
it's
time.
just one more extra class. Yeah, well, it's just who cares if we give you a whole other thing to prepare for? But whatever. So, but they didn't give us any direction on it, and they're like, just put down what you want to do on this Google sheet. Like, all right. So I put down Silent Rave, which I thought was genius, and I still hold as genius. Because the idea is they come in, they put their headphones in, and they, can jam to whatever they want to. And it's quiet. And I don't have to deal with them. Like, it's just be there. And it's like the perfect club for introverts. The people who just want a chance to just chill. But apparently that means I'm not interacting with the children. So I got to come up with something new. It's like, So I think I'm going to teach them how to play poker. I'll see how that goes. I'm going to run a gambling den out of my classroom. It'll be awesome.
Teach them how to competitively gamble.
Yeah. Teach them the valuable skills of 3-card Monte.
Yeah. Walking around the hallways going, fucking river card gets me every time.
I mean, the bad part is, like, there's stuff that I would have done, I suppose, but people had already, they claimed to it, and I was like, yeah, okay. This is how you collect the money when they owe you. I need to come up with some stupid club where the acronym is CCCP.
Looking for trouble, huh?
Apparently. Maybe I could get funding that way.
Reminds me of that Wu-Tang joke.
What's the Wu-Tang joke?
What's the difference between Vegas and Wu-Tang?
What?
What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Okay.
COVID.
Yeah, I know. I got it.
I didn't say it was a good joke.
Yeah, it's not.
Matter of fact, it's not, right?
Yeah.
But I think we should reserve the right to tell bad jokes.
That's true. If you can elect bad jokes, you should be able to tell them.
If you can nominate bad jokes without even bothering to elect the bad jokes.
It's true. We shall tell you who you shall vote for, and that is saving democracy.
so weird. I'm looking at it in person, and all this is gray.
Yeah.
I look at it on the monitor, and it doesn't look gray at all. At least mine.
Hold on a second. I'm in the filter. So I think the upper part looks brown. The lower part looks grayish brown, maybe. I can still see brown.
Well, there's. It's not supposed to be not brown. It's supposed to be a dingier brown. There is gray in there.
Okay.
It's really actually just a very thin black. Because I can highlight over it later on.
What?
I don't know. I'm tired.
Huh. You've read Dune before, right?
What's that?
You've read Dune, Frank Herbert's Dune.
Have I read Dune? Yeah, I read Dune.
Okay.
I read pretty much all of that. I actually.
I think the last.
Not the last two that Kevin Ferguson and Brian Herbert finished. I've got one.
So
I have the one in the middle. So
the last time I read Dune, I think I was. Well, I think that's before my children were born. So, you know, we're talking like 20 years ago. But a friend of mine was at, he's seen the movies, but he hasn't read the book. And he was asking me why they use blades. And he's like, did they tell you that in the book? Because
blades, really?
Well, they do. They use blades. They have that whole. I mean, that's. And it's explained in the book. I'm pretty certain. But isn't like there are two reasons. Like the personal shields stop fast projectiles or fast strikes. So
Yeah, because
the bullet's not going to hit you.
Yeah, because it makes it go nuclear.
Right? Isn't that the las gun that does that though? Like they have las guns, but they know that if they hit them, that's what they were called, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's what they were called.
So I've read it, but it's been a while.
Well, yeah. So same with me. Like I said, it's probably been about 20 years.
It's scary to think that might be true. For me too. Actually, it might even be longer, come to think of it, because my first taste of Dune was just after the other atrocious movie.
Oh, I think I saw the movie, which I enjoyed, but I saw it on television.
Kyle MacLachlan, actually Dino De Laurentiis version. with Sting and
That's the that one.
Jaws playing.
And I think I read Dune. I know I had read it before I got to high school because we had a copy and I liked the cover of it. And I it took me a couple tries, but I mean I know I read it before high school, and then I bought myself a copy of it. I think when I was in Vegas. Might have been before I was in Vegas. Might have been when I was still in college. But I read it again then. And so it's been a while. But I was just trying to, again, my friend hadn't read the books. So I was like, I think my terminology is right, but it's been a while. And I suppose I could have looked it up, but I was like, I suppose he could look it up too. Or just read the book because it's good. So.
Yeah, like, I don't think of them really using blades like that because they're really knives, and those knives are used for duels, and then half of them are using sandworm teeth for knives, and
yeah,
that's not regular knives to me. So
that's true.
The shields, you have to get through them by going slow, which never really made a whole lot of sense to me either, to be honest. I mean,
that would allow air.
I understand the theory. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
Okay.
The vibrate, you're supposed to be getting in between the vibrations.
Well, that was something that.
Did you see the sci-fi version?
Yeah, I saw it, and I liked them.
Yeah, I liked it too. Actually, I thought it was the best version up until this last movie, and the last movie is a lot of spectacle that's awesome that you couldn't do with the sci-fi one, but they stayed a little truer to the novel, except for the age. None of them stayed true to the age of Paul Atreides and all that, but.
That was another thing my friend was concerned with. He was like, do you have a problem that doesn't exactly follow the books? I was like, I don't have a problem with that.
I do.
Because, well, for me, I have the book.
Yeah, but people are watching. So here's my problem with that is that people are watching that movie and they're thinking that it's true to the book because they cut it in half and they did this big production of it. And then they're talking about continuing. That would put Dune Messiah as the next book or as the next feature. And the stuff that happens in Dune Messiah is no longer possible to happen the way that it happened.
Oh, I don't know if that's accurate. I mean, you're right. There are some definite changes. And
it's accurate because of the whole Aaliyah thing or whatever her name is.
Yeah,
I was pretty sure it's Aaliyah.
It is. Her whole reason for her nickname was because she killed the Baron. Supposed to, she does in the book.
Spoiler.
She's not born yet in the movie. Oh well. And
yeah, but that's the problem because that's not it's her motivation and the quirkiness of her character and what fucks her character up. That can't happen because what she did.
I think
because
I don't think killing the Baron was what messes her up. And
I do. But
okay.
that I think that's a lot of what does. And that was at a really young age.
Yeah, except for the whole water of life thing, giving her all the memories and stuff of the Bene Gesserit sisters and stuff.
Life too, and it fucked him up. But it fucked him up a different way. It didn't fuck him up the same way.
Right. Right. But the Bene Gesserit also talk about how that his sister is an abomination, and because of it, her mother was pregnant with her, and so it.
Do you
like
consider
the Bene Gesserit don't like her?
Do you consider the Bene Gesserit reliable sources?
I think their reaction of fear and disgust is reliable, and seeing that, I think that's I think that would fuck you up more than the.
That's what they're talking about. I said that can be ingrained in them too. That's what they're doing to other people, is messing with them, with their beliefs and their religious beliefs and all that. They already had beliefs on what timeline that the Kwitzak Haderach should be born and all that, and they're not the same depending on the faction of sisters. So,
right, but
like I'm just saying, like I don't consider them reliable resources anymore. Like so since you gave a spoiler for the movie, that the way that the movie ended in the end was fucking complete bullshit, with Cheney going home, driving home. She just caught a worm and went home. Where the fuck is home?
Yeah, they don't do the concubine thing quite the same, do they?
Rage quit thing, but in the book, she knew damn well what was going to happen. She knew what was going to happen the whole time. Paul had told her the whole time. Yep. Paul told her that he wasn't going to be more than married to Irulan in name, because it gave him validity to the crown. She understood all that shit, but they make her seem like an impetuous kid at the end of the movie, and she's not. Even though she's young, she's not. The ways of the Fremen have toughened her up against a lot of that shit. So I don't know. There are small things, but those small things make a big difference to me.
You tend to be more of a purist when it comes to film adaptations than I am.
Yeah, it's one of those things where what you get out of the book is not necessarily what I got out of the book, right? I mean, they don't have to be the same thing. You don't have to get the same thing out of the book that I do. But from what I got out of the book, they screwed a lot of it up because of the way that they approached it.
Yeah.
That, and that said, a lot of the other parts of the movie, I was surprised at how good some of that stuff did end up, but some of it didn't end up as well for me. I loved the spectacle part. It was really good. I didn't think they need to switch out shout out Mapes.
Yeah, whatever her name is.
Yeah,
I know who you're talking about.
I didn't think they needed to do what they did with her. I thought that was crap. It's small stuff, but it's stuff that mattered to me, because it's like this. You're talking about something I've been waiting for a correct version or a more correct version to be done for a long time. I really, really like the way they did the Sci-Fi Channel version. What I didn't really, really like is Susan Sarandon's sequel.
Okay.
When Susan Sarandon, did you see Children of Doom?
Yep.
All
the ones that were on Sci-Fi I saw.
Okay, so they did Dune, as a mini series that was, I want to say 7 episodes because I actually own the CD.
Yeah.
But when they did Children of Dune, they mashed Children of Dune and Dune Messiah into one book, or into one movie, which was 2 different books. And they made it a 2-parter. So they just jammed it together and cut whatever the hell they wanted to cut out of it, and they kept whatever the hell they wanted to keep out of it. And that's just too bad because, again, I thought the brilliance, like the hardest book for me to read was God Emperor of Doom, but at the end it was the most brilliant book because it was the key. It was like the key to understanding the whole thing to me. I'm qualifying it with it to me because, you know, to me.
Because it's to you. I mean, again, it makes perfect sense.
Qualifying it with it to me because, you know, to me is not to everybody. And I understand because that's what I was just saying. That books are different things to different people, right? That's the power of books. Right? What you pick up and what you cling on to and what the memory of something is from a book may well be a lot different than what I have. That's why I qualify it with to me because that's what I got out of it. And I can't swear by what age I was when I was reading that. You know what I mean? I can't tell you. I can't tell you if I was a young adult or well, like very young adult or just a young adult. It was some type of young adult. I just don't know how young. I don't remember. I want to say like 89, maybe 90. But that would put me at 18, 19, something like that. And that sounds right. I do know that I noticed a lot of Star Wars and Star Trek that really kind of came from that.
Yeah.
That I'd never even considered before. I mean, somebody had told me about it, and I was like, nah, whatever. But and then, like, I like the Steve Carey, The Man Who Never Missed series too.
Right.
And that's part of that series is predicated on fold space, which is pretty much Dune's introduction. It's a Dune thing. The navigation and fold spaces core is in Dune.
Yeah, that's always kind of the hard part with science fiction for me is you unless you're just going to have it based on Earth, which I'm kind of questioning why you have science fiction like that. It takes so damn long to get anywhere. And we know no one's around us, so it's just That's stuff they do in Star Trek and Star Wars, where it's just, all right, we're gonna go to this whole other system and hang out there, and then we're gonna fly to this system, and it's like, yeah, that should take a lot
Cold
longer.
space, light speed, but there's more. I can't come up with it right now off the top of my head, but when I was reading it, I was like, oh wow, that's dead. Fucking Lucas stole that,
Well, I like stealing from, I like gate technology stuff. I think that's the reason why I like gate technology for sci-fi is that it still requires somebody to go out there on the slow. So you can have a time period, where it's you can have different stories about like on a generational ship or something, because those are the pioneers that have to go out and put this crap out there. But then once it's established, you can have it everywhere. So you can literally have, I guess your K can have it too. I guess you can go to different systems because they have gates, or you can have a story set where they're trying to get somewhere to put a gate. And for me, that's a useful tool, but it's still something. I mean, I recognize it as a gimmick too, and all those things are you can't get anywhere. It's you have to break the rule, the science of it. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you're stuck on Earth.
Or you're doing generation ships.
Right. I mean, that's in which case you're stuck on a smaller Earth, basically, because I mean,
well, it depends on where you're at in the generation ship's voyage.
Right.
I've seen it done a couple of interesting ways. Larry Correa's got a short story out. I don't remember what it's called right now, but it's got to do with a generation ship that was supposed to go one place and ended up going a different place. And the only inhabitable places on the planet being like the top 5 mountain tops. Like once you get below a fog layer, everything is acid and deadly and whatever.
Lovely.
Well, it's interesting, and it survives or falls based on the lore of generational ship technology. I guess that would be the easiest way to say it. But.
Okay.
I mean, it's so, most science fiction, good science fiction, is based on how people live when that one change is made, right?
Okay.
And this particular change is that you have to live on these mountaintops with whatever has survived from your generation ship, or whatever technology that you already had on that generation ship. It's interesting. Anyway, like I don't really want to give a lot of the story away or whatever, but the very first, it's posed like a murder mystery, and the cop that's investigating a murder shows up. He's like basically on the poor mountaintop, right?
Okay.
So their hierarchy is set up by which mountaintop you live on. But he shows up for this murder mystery, and somebody has been killed in a meat vat, but it's a meat vat that's grown. Not. It's not like they chopped it up. It's that they chemically grew this meat.
Okay.
That's why it's in a vat. But
Delicious.
that's got to do with the fact that you can't, farm and all that stuff. You're limited to where you are. On the generation ship, they had the availability of I want to say just ordering up whatever, and it manufactured it out of whatever parts they had on the ship. Like, kind of like the holodeck ordering a cheeseburger or some shit like that. I don't know. I don't watch Star Trek enough to give you the right thing, but you know what I'm talking about. If you order a cup of coffee and it's just there, something produces it. The science is better explained in the book, but I don't have a mind for it because I'm not really a science fiction writer. Much more fantasy crime type writer or historical.
So, I just got an email from LTUE, and they're having a free mini event this Saturday. If you're interested, I can forward you the information. But I might partake in that.
I don't have any money for anything, so
I don't. It's free. Like it's a online.
Oh yeah. What's the event?
Free Edge of the Universe mini event is this Saturday at 11 o'clock. They're gonna they have 3 concurrent tracks with 3 different presentations from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. I'm gonna guess Mountain Time. MDT, I'm not exactly sure what that is. 11 o'clock, you have Gaming with Will Munn, Publishing TTRPGs, Writing with Danny Potter, Muse on Demand, Creativity and the Neuropsychology of the Creative Mind, and Pro Developer Jill Barup, How I Became an Accidental Author. And at noon, World Building with Dr. Paul Cox, Top 10 Sci-Fi Movies. Books, Jessica Day George, The Evolution and Power of Children's Books, and TMA, Craig Nybo, Sensory Storytelling, Driving the Story Through Character Experience. And then at 1 o'clock, you have Editing, Nadia Gipupa, Book Evaluations. These are real people, Diane. Don't make me butcher their names.
Again. Did you say KG Poopo?
Art with Jim Zaccaria, book cover development, and special Allison Anderson, the first time publishing process. So, anyway, I'm just letting you know if you want me to send you the email, I can send it to you.
Yeah, I probably won't do.
But
when is it?
It's Saturday.
Yeah, probably not. I'll be here Saturday, and then Sunday there's the Demolition Derby that Eli really wants me to go to with him. He thought it was on Saturday, and he was all like, "Call Brett, cancel."
I see where I rank. That's all good. I was a little upset. There's a Demolition Derby, and
he was saying he really said that, and that's not usually how he strings sentences together. Just like call Brent, cancel stream. Like, oh, you really want to go to that event, don't you?
It does. There's a demolition derby in North Webster every year, and ever since they started doing it, my brother-in-law's like been heavily involved, and he drives every year. And last year, he let my son drive, so that was pretty cool. And this summer, though, couldn't make it, and we hardly ever miss those things. But we were in New York and stuff. It was just bad timing. So I kind of missed my demolition derby of the year.
Well, we have one in Thompson, which is close. And then this one's in Windsor, which isn't really close. It's an hour and a half away, or an hour and 20 minutes, or whatever. The parking's going to be nuts, but it's where Amanda's family is used to going.
Oh, yeah?
We usually used to do the Windsor and the Union Fair. And the Union Fair is pretty small. Union's pretty small. But Thompson's right around both sides. We just basically went for the Thompson, and the bench that we sat on was really crooked, and it really hurt me. But so I don't know. Hopefully that's not going to be the case. I know the Windsor Fair usually not like that.
Well, yesterday I spent the entire day, because we were testing, so there wasn't a whole bunch for me to do. But I kept my heating pad on. I brought my heating pad to work, sat in my chair with the heating pad on the entire day. And that has, like, I have it on right now. It has helped immensely. I'm a little worried because I'm all out of the hydrocodone. I'm all out of the muscle relaxer. I got Tylenol. And I'm like, if this thing flares up, it's going to be terrible. But I'm hoping, like today, I didn't use the heating pad anywhere near as much as I did yesterday. And now it just feels like everything's tight. Whereas, God, even Tuesday night, I was dying. Just, ugh.
You know what it is?
At my back. Huh. Hey,
well,
Joe says I need muscle relaxers. I do too. As many as possible. But
well, when I say I mean, is there a medical term for it, and you know it's going to get better, or is it just back pain?
As far as I know, it's just back pain. Like they were going to do, they're like, if it doesn't get any better, then we have to start, MRIs and stuff like that. And I was like, how about we just try seeing if it's just like tense muscles or something, and just try to get through it. Hey, Joe says that you're supposed to paint left or right. I've never heard. Well, I mean, I can kind of see why, but as a right-hander,
probably especially true if you're right-handed.
Yeah. So you're not, putting your hand in it, but
it's usually the deal with tattooing. You go bottom to top, left to right, so that you don't run your hand across stuff that's already been done. But I don't care. I run my hand across stuff that's already been done on a regular basis.
I wonder if I can. I suppose I'll ask my principal for him. But if this is a free writing conference, if my students aren't, if my students are interested, I might share it with them, or at least tell them about it. But because it's an outside organization, they'd be online. I'm going to have to ask to see if I can even tell them anything about it. I feel kind of overly protective, I think, because I'm at a lower grade. When I was teaching juniors, I didn't really. I'm like, you could vote in the next election. I'm not worried about this as much. Whereas, with them being 7th graders, I'm just like, I'll just check. I'll double check. Like, I was kind of thinking about showing. We were talking about characterization and conflict, and there's that scene in The Godfather where, spoiler alert, Michael Corleone kills the cop and the drug dealer. And
police,
that's a really good, because he tells you exactly what he wants, but you can also see that this is a change in the character, and you understand. Like, it's really easy to see the motivation. It's a really well crafted scene. And it's also one of the reasons why Godfather is R-rated, which is kind of crazy to me. But apparently shooting cops is worse, or was worse, on the rating scale. Well, thank you, Joe. Does anybody have for the great stretching videos for back, hip, sciatica? Shared one with Rich. You can pass along to you. Stretching helps with the pain. So, Rich, you're supposed to share a video with me later, so that I can. I don't believe it. I 100% think that's probably accurate. Like, I think it's all muscle on me, because nothing really. I just think I tensed up and everything's locked up, and apparently I like to hold on. Just hold on. So, as I've gotten more relaxed, I suppose, it's starting to work out. But yeah, I think stretching would probably help. And I will believe it. I will definitely give it a try.
Yeah, there's a couple of different stretches I can share with you too. But the stretches that I know that I can share with you are they're based on that sacroiliac joint. So, unless you have that same problem, they're not guaranteed to do anything for you. But if they do,
I don't mind trying. My wife was, the evil things she was having me do can't be any worse than, she was making me do yoga stuff. And I was like,
do you have a side that hurts worse than the other?
The right side's a little bit worse than the left, but it's more
so
center.
You can go in a doorway and put yourself up, like, face the jam.
Yeah.
And put which side is worse?
The right side.
So put the right side up against the jam, and then lift your left leg up to the other jam.
Yeah.
As high as you can get it to put your foot down, and push.
Yeah.
That'll help with an SI joint kind of reset.
Yeah. I'll have to give that a try.
That's an easy way. I mean, I don't think I watched the video that Joe gave me, but there's been a whole bunch of crap going on, so.
So, Joe, you've never seen The Godfather? I would. That means you have an amazing film that you get to go see. That's all I think about it.
2.
And B, I would highly recommend
The Godfather
1 and 2.
The Godfather 1 and 2 are the book.
Yeah, and and it's great.
The book is
Third
written.
one,
Yeah, it's not the book, and you can tell. The book is written. The book is written in a different. It's like one of the things that made Mario Puzo famous is that his style of writing is his prose is different, so it doesn't go straight out. It's non-linear, but the non-linear is it starts and then it goes back up and then catches you up, and then it jumps and then it backs up to where you left off the last time and catches you up, and it does that like so it's stepping its way through the story. I really liked The Godfather. I also really liked The Sicilian. I really like The Sicilian. It's basically like the Robin Hood of the mafia, or the Robin Hood of Sicily. I like the movie, but a lot of people think it's too slow. I love the book though. I just gave a first printing of it to a friend of mine. You know, get rid of stuff can't take with you. Quiet again.
Deep thoughts. Deep thoughts. It's because when Joe said that he had never seen The Godfather, I was gobsmacked. I was just thrown for a loop. But
Yeah, right.
which is funny because, I mean, I think I watched that movie when I was in high school for the first time. And at first I thought it was kind of slow paced, but like I don't know, just got into it pretty darn fast. I was amazed at it's a really good story. The construction of it, the execution of all the things, it is well done. Like literally, I mean, as weird as this is, I generally appreciate The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 more than I appreciate Star Wars. Like if you had to get rid of one or the other, I would get rid of Star Wars because while it's entertaining and fun, I just don't see it being as influential and awesome as The Godfather. Well, it's probably more influential because of the commercialism, but I'm just saying artistically,
unlike Star Wars, the focus, I mean, it's going to sound like it's talking about Star Wars, but the focus is family. And when I say unlike Star Wars, the focus is the family, it's because Star Wars' focus is the child trying to save the dad, which makes me wonder if Lucas has some kind of daddy issues. Everybody has their own issues. Maybe he does. But Mario Puzo was trying to show the importance of the Italian family to the Italian people, not the importance of the mafia. You know what I mean? Yeah. So while people watch that movie and tend to think of it as it's about the mafia, if you watch it to see how it's about the family, you'll definitely notice that it's stronger because it's about the family. So,
Joe said that monster movies always freak him out.
That's weird.
Oh. What did you just send me?
I deleted it because it's not supposed to be what it's not what it was supposed to be. I'm trying to send you that link, so hold on.
Yeah. That meme I sent you earlier, the political one, I'm pretty positive all of that's just complete garbage, but it made me chuckle.
Oh, yeah. Well.
Okay. I see it.
Okay, so that's what Joe wanted me to send you.
Awesome. I will have to look at that later. Probably tomorrow morning when I'm screaming in pain after having no more medication. I'm desperate. My wife was like, you better not like start being confined to the bed. Like she was mad at me. I mean, she wasn't mad, but she gets tired of me, because I'll walk along. It's almost like I have Tourette's. Because all of a sudden I'll be slightly off balance or something, and it just flares up the back, and and she's understandably annoyed with that. Or I could be sitting on the couch and just move my feet, and all of a sudden it's just So she's not a fan of the random grunting and screaming that I may have participated in.
Yeah, I find that's a common thing lately, that women and wives don't want to help out with pain. Don't want to hear it.
Well, she's had a migraine for like a week now.
there's
So
a answer for migraines
she's
too.
already. I mean, okay.
Yep. Tell her next time
See
she
it?
has a migraine, soak her feet in hot water
Okay.
because a lot of migraines are caused because of the restriction of capillaries.
Yeah.
And for some reason, soaking your feet in hot water releases a lot of that. Gets the blood flowing.
Well, I'll tell her.
Hey,
But,
like
yeah, she's.
I'm not a medical doctor, but I've watched one. So
The
it might help.
It might. I'll tell her. I always tell her because a lot of times, like you can see when she has a migraine normally, like half of her face turns red and stuff, and it's. I'm always like, try a hot compress, like, but she never feels like it. But I will advise soaking feet because you can so sit in the tub for a while. But she's definitely
or
way worse for wear than I am.
or a foot in the tub.
I would rather have back pain than a headache. Oh.
I keep saying it. Pain is valid no matter who you are or how much it is.
That's true. I just know that she.
I wouldn't rather have any pain. Sorry, like I've had enough pain. I could deal with some painless times for a while. That would be nice. A little bit of no pain. Joe says that same YouTuber has a neck treatment for migraines.
Neck stretch for migraines. I'm gonna have to definitely check this guy out because let's face it. Well, I would rather have back pain than a headache. I'd rather have none, like you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I completely agree.
I've had
But I
nothing.
sympathize more with my wife.
I'm good without it.
Yeah.
I don't need it.
Yeah.
No. That was the cat.
Well, I was pretty certain that it was a cat. The other one that I asked if it was a cat because it was the closest thing I could think of that sounded like that.
That was because it was Eli imitating the cat. Which
makes perfect sense because that sounds
I'm
like one weird
of,
cat. But
I'm fond.
But hey, I knew what he was going for.
I'm imitating the cat. I'm okay with him imitating, just not intimidating. Because he goes.
Okay.
He goes between them. that shit rolls downhill thing.
Joe said he popped his neck yesterday and Hank was gone 10 seconds later. See, some of that stuff I get worried about, though. Because a friend of mine had gone to a chiropractor and had a stroke. At the chiropractor, but he adjusted. And that sounds like a terrible experience. I got to tell you. So,
well,
some of that stuff.
You also got to take into account that not all doctors are the same.
That's true.
So that one may not have been a good choice for going to.
Well, there may have also been other
doctor.
I mean, it's not like it's unheard of for chiropractors or whatever to cause strokes. Like, that's a possible side effect. But
it is
new to me. There could also be other things.
That's the first time I ever heard that.
Well,
it doesn't mean that it's not true.
Of,
that just mean that I didn't ever hear about it before.
Well, I come from a line of chiropractors. I am not one, but there's a reason why some doctors, just flat out think chiropractors are quacks and whatever. I don't know enough, and I can't offer medical advice in any way, shape, or form. But it's one of those things where I just gives me pause. If my medical doctor said, I want you to go see a chiropractor, I'd probably listen to my doctor's advice, but I wouldn't circumvent my main doctor first. So, but again, there also could have been other things, because there are a lot of over the last few years, strokes and things have been creeping up more and more in younger and younger people. So.
Yeah, and they're not all guaranteed to be what people think they are from what people think they are.
All right. So who knows? But
there are factors that you have to consider, like food and whatnot.
Yep. All kinds of things.
Not discrediting.
Joe said he has an amazing chiropractor. And he tells her, each visit, I feel like she threw me out a moving truck. Oh, that's sweet. Yeah, my wife used to go to a chiropractor, and she would tell me the stuff they did, and I was like, yeah, I'll pass on that. So, but I think she got relief, so, who am I to say anything? But I just... I don't want to do it. I suppose if it got bad enough and nothing else was working, I'd give it a try.
I have not gone to a chiropractor either. Like I saw one time, and that guy, he basically told me, like, because I was paying out of pocket for shit and I couldn't afford all these tests and shit. He's like, well, smoke weed. I'm like, that's great advice for a heart patient. Tell him to smoke. My heart doctor will probably appreciate your advice.
Perhaps it should have been, not that I'm advocating for anything, especially not in the state of Indiana, or, in some of my profession, but and I wouldn't know, and I'm not even going to pretend like I know. But yeah, smoking anything if you have heart problems is a bad idea. but I would wonder about like edibles.
And that's not a good idea as well because it races your heart.
I see. I again, 100% would not know.
Now, I'm in Maine, and I can do that like legally. I mean,
Yeah.
there's recreational use and all that, but while I can do that legally, like it endangers my life. So generally,
Right.
I try
Oh
to
yeah.
try not to play around too much with the endangering of the life thing.
Well, I'm the first to admit I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to any substance that used to be illegal and still kind of is. I've read enough to know that there are medicinal benefits from it. So
there are,
I
but there are also like almost any alternative medicines have doctors that have tests that support it, but they're not
right.
well spread tests, well documented tests, or tests that have been repeated a lot. So like you only know what they want to show you from a small test sample. You know what I mean? It's like it's not necessarily.
So Joe said that his visits make him feel better, and he had a scare because he lost his drawing hand for a couple weeks after they did some neck posture adjustments. Yeah, that scared me too. I had a polyp removed from my nose.
Joe's another mod at the David Finch fan server with me.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, if you don't know,
So
then
I had this polyp.
now you do.
I had this polyp removed, from my nose, and the guy hit a nerve, which I'm not upset. Like I can see why this would happen. It's not a huge spot, but it made my front right tooth numb for like a year, and it's the weirdest thing because you don't normally think that you're feeling your teeth, but when you can't feel one, all of a sudden it's really obvious.
Yeah, it's the nerve, but yeah. The nerve of that thing.
Yeah. But it was just, I'd never thought about numb teeth before. Just kind of weird, but absolutely real. Oh. Yeah, I came home, or my wife came home. She got home after me, and the way our house is now, with the kids going to a different school and whatnot, they have to get up early, or earlier than what they've had to before, and so my wife's like been getting up early, waking up one of them, then going back to bed, and then she'll wake me up, and then this week, because of her headache, she's kind of been sleeping in longer. But when she came home, I was like, oh yeah, tomorrow I gotta get up early. And you could just see she was upset. She's like, how early? And I was like, well, I've got a meeting before school, and it starts at 8:10, which I'm normally there at 8:05. Never mind. Ignore everything I said. Don't change a thing. Sleep in as much as possible. It's just one of those things. It's like, yeah, I've got a meeting before school, but all I have to do is make sure that I'm there. It was kind of fun. But because it's the first one, I thought, oh, I gotta get up early, and I don't. It's this single prep thing is actually pretty sweet. So, I've been digging that. Talking to my son, and the one that my wife's been getting up early.
And he's like, I guess you don't have to get me up as early tomorrow because I already packed my stuff. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, well, because he was sick today. He was throwing up. And he had gotten everything ready for the night before. So when he went to bed tonight, or when not when he went to bed, my wife just went to bed, which was on my mind. But when he last night he had gotten his stuff ready for today, didn't need it today, so it's ready for tomorrow. And I'm like, wait. You're telling me you've been getting up early to pack your bag instead of just doing it the night before? You're sacrificing sleep so you can pack your bag in the morning? It's like, are you serious? Like, I would never do that. I would pack it the night before so I can sleep in as much as possible in the morning. And he just looked at me and he's like, yeah, I guess that is kind of stupid. I was like, yeah, kid, it kind of is. I don't know. Sometimes, you get into these predicaments where you just haven't thought about it at all. You just like, all right, got to do this. And it works, but it's not really optimal. So sometimes you just have to get out of that headspace, I think. It's kind of funny when my kids do it. I make fun of them. Joe said that, yeah, nerves are crazy. So complex. Absolutely. I gotta say, I was hoping that the DNC would be more entertaining this week. Like, I was looking for like some 1960s writing going on, and so far it's been kind of a letdown. There have been protests, but nothing huge.
Well, yeah, because they're lying their fucking asses off.
Well, yeah, I mean,
well, what I'm saying is, like, there are people that were not that long ago were like, I'm not going to vote for the DNC this year because, like, I've seen them. They're like, I'm a Democrat for life, but I can't give the codes to the missiles to these two. But apparently, that's changed.
It's been kind of surprising. Just, I mean, how, I don't know. I'm not a person that would vote straight ticket unless
they happen to be actually something that I approve of all the way down, which would be rare. I have voted for Democrat candidates before. I have voted for Republican candidates before. So I just don't get these people blue no matter who. It's like, well, what's the point of even, like, okay, you didn't even have a primary and she has never won any kind of large scale election, but you're going to just anoint her. And just weeks ago, you were all saying she's terrible. And now you're acting like she's the second coming of Christ. And it's just kind of ridiculous.
Disgustingly so, too.
I'm like, and don't get me wrong. I think there are people who act like Trump is the second coming of Christ, too, which I find ridiculous. I find it just, I'm like, these are people, they're politicians, business people. They are not saints. Stop acting like it. But, you know, at least I can point to Trump's record and say, yeah, my life was better with his policies. You know, and
what do you mean you had food, rent, gas?
Well, don't get me wrong. Some of the problem stems from his presidency because the COVID lockdowns and the government handouts to everybody. Everyone knew that was going to be inflationary. Everyone knew it, and gee golly, it was inflationary. You know, and I would say you cannot say Trump's presidency was perfect, but when he wants energy independence, I'm all for it. You know, Kamala wants us beholden to other countries. I don't like that. I don't think it's good for the environment. I hands down, I'm sorry, but the Democratic ticket is just terrible for the environment, for minorities, for pretty much everybody. And all they're doing is saying Trump is bad, but they don't say why. Because you can't really, oh, look, Trump tax cuts, which helped almost everybody. Like, oh no. Meanwhile, what has Kamala done? And what has Joe Biden done? How has that made anything better for anyone? So.
No, I can't give credit to the Democrats for shit for a long time.
Well, you know, when 12 of the last 16 years were under Democrat power,
oligarchy,
and yet it's all Trump's fault. It's like, really? Republicans are that powerful? Trump's that powerful that his 4 years negates 12 years from Democrats, and we need to give another 4 years for more Democrat shenanigans?
Yeah, I love how it's Biden's successes are hand-me-down from Trump's, but they're only Biden's successes. But when Trump had successes, they were hand-me-downs from Obama.
Yep, always. And, you know,
well, that was from the last administration. Nope, the last administration was fucking us this hard first time. That's what got us accustomed to getting fucked this hard.
The idea, like the amount of money that illegal immigration is costing the United States, the border wall would have been a bargain if it had stemmed more of this. And the fact that, you know, we had a Congress that said, oh, we don't have the money for a border wall, but we can give out handouts to every third world country across the globe, welcome them all here, pay them, give them all kinds of benefits. You know, California is talking about giving immigrants basically interest-free loans on houses.
Yeah, because they want their votes.
Well, that's great, except for, well, if California wants to do that, you know damn well that means California taxpayers have to do that. And that means you're screwing over everybody for a program that isn't even for citizens. Like, I'm sorry.
And then then when what happens is that the California people don't want to pay for it, and then they reach out to every other state to cover their ass because California is so poor they need everyone else's help, right?
Well, California is like, I don't know, it's got a sizable economy.
Yes, I know, I'm being facetious.
But they do they get government hand. I mean, they get federal money.
Oh, I know.
And
they've got most of the movie companies there, and they weren't paying their electric bill. They were reaching out for everybody else to pay their electric bill.
oh, that's one of those things that just, again, you're going to have all these wildfires and things because you didn't manage your environment, and then you're going to tell me how I need to manage my environment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, how about you guys just figure out how to not have rolling brownouts and not have all these forest fires because you have a sensible energy program. The idea of getting rid of, quote, fossil fuels being in our benefit is only true if you completely embrace nuclear. That's the only way that's ever going to work. Yeah, Joe, exactly. Kamala will fix things once she's in office because I would love, because this would happen 100%. If Kamala wins the presidency, when the economy gets even worse, they're still gonna blame Trump. They will blame Trump even though there was a president in between them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and her.
Yeah. Now, I just think about all the people that she tried to keep in prison beyond when they were supposed to. I keep thinking about, they were, oh, she's a prosecutor. Yeah, she hid evidence, and she tried to get people basically killed by the state. Like, I'm sorry, that's not a person I want in power. If you're for minority rights, I don't see how you're for Kamala. Sorry.
Did you see her talking about the power of her pen?
No.
Well, she had so much power, all she had to do was sign something with her pen.
Yeah.
And you'd be, she had so much power. Like, yeah, I saw your power. I saw you abuse your power.
Yeah, you cannot cheer on energy dependence and the destruction of our energy infrastructure and then say you're for the little guy, because you're not. Because the first people that are going to end up, freezing to death or dying from too much heat or from drought, those will be poor people that can't afford electricity anymore because it's all got to be powered by the sun instead of just worrying about nuclear or fossil fuels. And we have so much oil, it's ridiculous. Like, not only can we make oil, we have the technology, we've had it for decades, the ability to make oil. It's not the best oil, but it's the same basic process as making fake diamonds or, man-made diamonds, which are real diamonds. So if you can make a diamond, you can make oil, basically. And, so this idea that we're going to ever run out of oil is stupid. And the idea that, okay, if you want to worry about CO2 emissions and things like that, okay, fine, cool. I'm on board with that. I can understand where, maybe there's a greenhouse gas there, but that means the solution is not solar and it is not wind, it is nuclear. That is the only way we're going to generate enough power. It's just the math. Like, I always find it funny that liberals want to say, trust the science. And I'm like, okay, but how about you do the math?
Because math's not science.
Yeah. When, Elon Musk is telling you we don't have the capacity, the energy production capacity to have everyone have electric vehicles. And he's the guy selling electric vehicles. So it's in his best interest that we all go electric. And he's telling you, yeah, it's not there. It kind of says something like wake up. Like, what are you supposed to do? And again, if people want to go to nuclear power, or if they embrace nuclear, I think you can have electric cars. I don't necessarily know how well they work in a northern climate, but whatever. But you got to be able to generate the power first, and that's going to have to be nuclear, or you're going to have to use coal and fossil fuels. Anyone else who says anything else, I'm pretty sure is just not. I'm sorry. I don't think they're serious about trying to fix the environment if they just write off nuclear, especially in our country.
Right, nuclear is made to look a lot more dangerous because fossil fuels on the market then.
Right.
But it's the same thing with ethanol. Ethanol is made from corn, and that was a viable source too. But they wanted to make it look like it wasn't, so they went around causing explosions in ethanol plants.
Well, I'm not a big fan of ethanol.
It wasn't just combusting on its own. It was combusting because people were over there running around sabotaging them to make them combust.
Well, I mean, for me, the reason why I don't like ethanol is that I still think that drives up food prices, because you're taking what should be a food crop, and instead of making feed for animals or making, corn for us to eat, we're processing it and turning it into fuel, which I think there are better options without raising the price of everything else.
Pretty replaceable fuel. You can grow corn fairly quickly in environments made to do that.
I know Indiana's, there's a ethanol plant just down the road, like it's in town. And
Indiana would stand to benefit from that.
Yeah, 100%. But I also know that there's a lot. I mean, it's not necessarily good for your engine, things like that.
So it's not as efficient as gasoline. And again, if you're taking corn out of the supply chain to make fuel, and corn is one of those basic feeds, it raises the price of pretty much all your groceries. Joe said that he remembers Kamala saying about her powerful pen. Her pen is mighty. And is. Yeah. Joe said you hear the story about oil that Rockefeller made up stories about scarcity of oil to raise the cost per barrel. That's what I think most of the upper class environmentalist freaks like. I'm sorry, when you look at nuclear and you see, if you look at the science of nuclear versus anything else, and then you still have the environmentalists screaming and crying about nuclear, it's like, okay, you're not serious, or what you're really trying to do is raise the price of everything because you're going to make money on it. Again, we screw over the little guy, and it's kind of hard to do that unless you have government involvement, and that's exactly what we get. I think if I was going to make an economic bet, if Trump gets elected and pushes for energy independence again, we will completely avoid what's probably an oncoming recession, or it'll be incredibly short, because You make the United States energy independent, so you drive down the cost of
You
everything.
know, right now we're living more than twice what the Great Depression was, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Because you say oncoming recession, like how far, much further do you think we're going to recede?
Because
we're
not all the.
We're already receding way more than what we should be.
More than likely, but there are economic factors where they say it's like we don't technically fit the definition, which I always think is stupid. But I'm like, if people can't afford food because of inflation, and they're having a hard time paying for housing and things like that, basic needs aren't being met by general work, and it's kind of crazy when you think about how expensive labor costs are, and then people clamored for $15 minimum wage, and everyone said, that's going to be inflationary. And gee golly, you go to most McDonald's now, and it's like, about $15 an hour, whether it's minimum wage or not. And, it's super expensive. Weird. Or you have entire chain restaurants disappearing. Can't handle it. And
expensive when they're paying their employees $15 an hour to sometimes flip burgers the way they're supposed to.
Yeah, really. And Joe, I agree with you. Sad the money we sent overseas, we could have rebuilt our country's energy infrastructure. Absolutely. That's the thing that bothers me about the war in Ukraine. We have all the money in the world for other people, and we don't have it for us. And that I find ridiculous.
And it's tax money.
What?
And it's tax money.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're talking about raising your taxes. But this is the same issue that I've got with not supporting the troops, not supporting veterans that are injured, not supporting VFWs or veterans hospitals.
Right.
There's so many of our vets left by the wayside.
And yet we are shelling out money for a whole bunch of illegal immigration and for foreign countries. And Trump said that's stupid. And I agree.
Although I still think he'll be paying money to Ukraine. I don't think he can get us out of there.
I don't know. I think he'll make a deal with a certain unpopular president to get us out of there.
Well, he might, and I would. I mean, I'm sorry. I have, with my understanding of the history of Ukraine and the history of NATO.
If you watch the Tucker Carlson interview.
Oh no, I haven't.
That was great because Putin has documents going back to the 11th century where the Ukraine actually begged the USSR, or begged Russia to annex them because they had left Russia and were in Poland, and they were second-class citizens under the Roman Empire versus the Eastern Orthodox folk. It's really interesting. That Tucker Carlson interview, that's a lot of it, is because he's asking questions that most people are already asking or most people are making accusations of.
Right.
And Putin's got document after document after document proving that they asked for this. He's like, if you even...
Hi, Allison or Gabby. Or Gabe.
Yeah. Hi,
I don't know
Allison.
how to pronounce that.
It's like, he's got document after document proving that they asked for that, and he toured Kiev.
Yeah, whatever it is. Capital of the world. That's what I call it.
Well, if you go there, half of it's Hungarian and half of it's Russian, so neither one of it's Ukrainian. The language is either Hungarian or Russian. So it just, we don't know enough about what's going on over there. We only know what they want us to know so that they can get funded.
Well, that's my thing. I can understand where your country was invaded. Okay, that sucks, and I can understand that it's death and killing and war and destruction, all terrible, and I'd rather it not be going on. But there's more to this than just evil Putin. And because I think that there's more things going on, I would rather that we were extricated out of there so that we don't get involved and don't have a third world war. Like, I don't want to go to war with Russia and China. And that's where this kind of stuff leads to. And I don't want to do that.
We're already in an economic depression that it's not very far from a third world country where we are right now. It's just the wealth that we had already had that keeps us from being there. So, yeah, that's what we need. Another war, another place to kill our people off.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea. So, again, unleash energy independence, good. Secure your borders, good. And if you want to revise immigration laws, because I've got friends that are for Vietnam, and like they've gone through it the way you're supposed to, and it's a pain in the butt, and it's super expensive, and I can understand why maybe that's not the best system, 100%. But you got to secure the border first. You have to be able to shut the door before you do, the rest of your remodeling, I guess.
Well, that and you have to have some vetting.
Sort of.
That's the thing that's missing too. Is like when you open the floodgate, everyone and anyone of any caliber comes in and does what they want, and whether it's hurting somebody or not. And that's what we need to be aware of and to be looking out for, that we're not, and that they're trying to obfuscate away. How many people that have shown up in this country that, because the floodgates were open, not only showed up in this country, but showed up in this country to kill people. Or rape people.
Well, when you have MS-13 gang members and things, that's kind of a problem. I don't think the majority are like that. But
it's not just MS-13. That would be just putting it on Mexico, and I don't believe it's just on Mexico. I think that's I think that's another obfuscation, as a matter of fact.
Allison, were you the one that, because I had to leave about now, you came on last time?
Yes, she was.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Sorry, I missed you last time. Yeah, Joe, I agree. A lot of the territory is pro-Russia. It's enough of a boondoggle that I just think I don't see the upside. Like, I don't see the benefit to Americans to stop Russia from annexing part of Ukraine.
Especially when it was that way not that long ago, because they were part of the country.
Yeah.
Like, so we just keep insinuating ourselves in.
Yeah.
And I don't see how that's necessary. Yeah, Joe, I agree. I feel that, I would rather the Ukraine and Russia came to the table and, they said, all right, if these parts want to go, they can go. And if these parts want to stay, we'll stay, I would like to see some nice, peaceful negotiation. But NATO keeps poking at Russia too. And so I understand this is a response to NATO.
And I actually think it's a lot of political direction from our side.
I agree.
And I think it's disguised and obfuscated to get some kind of gain that we're not hearing about.
I think it's money laundering.
Well, that's possible. I mean, that's something I didn't consider. But I guess what I'm getting at is that it's too easy to hide alternate agendas in this.
I agree, but I tend to try to think of the simplest one. And when you look at why was Hunter Biden ever on the Burisma board, well,
I thought he was going to play crap.
And golly, there's a whole bunch of money that just ends up being, oh, you don't know where it went. It just it was allocated, and it disappeared into the black hole of the Pentagon. Weird, It's like, okay, who's really getting paid? So I can't, for the life of me, I can't fathom the strategic importance of Ukraine, other than it was close to Russia, and I don't see what we really need.
I can tell you part of it is that it was, as far as Russia goes, it was the wealthiest part of Russia.
Oh.
It was the most producing part of Russia.
Ah.
So if we control that via ally or whatever the excuse is,
yeah,
then we're a little bit in control of Russia, right? Kind of. Like, not saying that he's going to cave or whatever, but
right.
I think that's part of the strategic thinking, is that
it's leverage.
Yeah. Well, leverage, and I got your food, I got your, whatever, gold. It's certainly a reasonable excuse.
Well, I also know that I don't like it when you're just not allowed to question any of these things. And it's like,
right.
For a while it was like, Russia evil, dude. And I had friends, who they've studied history, they're social studies teachers, and there would be things that I would bring up, and they would be like, I was like, why would, the bombing of the Nord Stream pipeline, right? That was the one that got bombed over. And I said, why would Russia do that when all they had to do was press a button and turn it off? Why would you blow it up? And their answer, well, Putin's crazy. And I'm like,
crazy or stupid?
Yeah, it's like, I think you guys are just blind. Like, instead of blindly accept, this idea that Putin's crazy. I'm not saying he's not. He could be all kinds of things. I don't know him. And the Soviet Union was terrible. I don't think Russia's 100, just instantaneously better. But our country has done some shady stuff too. If our country can do shady stuff, I'm assuming other countries are doing shady stuff. So really, it just comes down to who's getting paid, and it ain't me. So I don't want to see people over there fighting. I'm just like, that's great. I don't know. Say, back our troops out. We don't need to be in there.
And Joe put money. I think it's money. And then I think a unicorn. And then I think he really likes the unicorn, because I think he spurted. I don't know. I can't quite tell.
You think he spurted?
I don't know what these emojis are. There's like dollar bills, and then I don't even know what this is. The pink thing.
Well, unicorn's a myth, right?
Huh?
The unicorn's a myth, right? Something that you can never get.
Yeah, but now that I've blown it up, I don't think it's a unicorn. So I don't even know what it is. I put it up. I'm sharing it on the screen just because.
Yeah, I can't see it, and I'm focusing on. I'm really focusing on what I'm doing. Don't tell people
there's a
that,
bathtub and a hamster. I don't know.
A bathtub and a hamster.
Yeah,
Is that like an old MTV gag? Running around through laundromats with hamsters taped to my thighs.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe, I agree. The U.S. NATO biolabs that were in the Ukraine, because you can't have them on U.S. soil. Yeah, okay. And I don't think I'd want those on, I'd be kind of a NAMBY on that one. I don't want Russia putting, biolabs in Mexico or Cuba. Really got off on a political rant there. I apologize. I always find it funny though when you look at you get people in bubbles, and everyone's susceptible to being in a bubble, but it's like you start believing these evil things. These people must be evil, and it's like you really sit down and talk to most of them. Most of people, I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican, most of it, you don't want to send U.S. troops off to war for, no reason. And I think Democrats and Republicans both should be questioning the government because both parties have done it. And it would be wise just to be worried about your self-interest, because that would hopefully lead to fewer altercations that are not necessary. Money washing bars of soap, sponge bath time. Money laundering. Got it. Had to clean the money. Now I understand the emojis. Yeah, Rich, you need to get in on the art game. That's one of the best ways to do money laundering. You sell a painting for like $5 million and I mean, if Hunter Biden can sell them for all those paintings for all that money, because he's a trained artist and really worked hard at it, I'm sure. They were not buying influence at all, I'm sure. There was a movie a while back ago that was all about money laundering through artwork. I should look that up because I missed it. I know, but I remember seeing the trailers for it. Yeah, it was called The Kill Room. I should see if I can find that sometime. But yeah, it's about using art to launder money. Although these reviews are not nice. Right.
I'm always fascinated with crime. Yeah, we scared Allison away, I think. Not that that was the intention or the goal, and I just think that, I think Rich and I vented a little bit.
Well, I learned a while ago if you really want to keep viewers, you shut up about politics. I'd really like to keep viewers integrally, you know. I'd like to think they stick around because they like the work and they like the conversation.
Joe's envious of Hunter Biden.
What?
I'm not envious of Hunter Biden. Joe said he's envious of Hunter Biden. I'm not. I don't think it's right, per se, the deference that's been given to him. You know, the stuff that he's done, that we know he's done, you or I would be arrested for and it, you know, throw us in jail. But
Joe's got a dark sense of humor, so.
Well, I mean, I can understand. I mean, the guy doesn't have to do anything, and he gets, oh, I'm going to paint some swirls, and because my daddy is president, people will say I'm a great artist and buy it for huge amounts of money. And that's not cool. Like, I mean, think about you, Rich. You've won awards for your art. You've done all kinds of things with your art, and you can't make that kind of money. And the only reason he's making that money is because of who his daddy is. And that shouldn't be how our politics work.
Well, yeah. It's called nepotism.
I know. I get it. And generally speaking, I have a libertarian view on nepotism.
And nepotism shouldn't be the way that we judge either.
Well, I just, you know, if I bust my hump and I amass wealth and power and fame because I make the sacrifices for it, and part of that payoff can be so that my kids have an easier life. And even if that means I get super rich and my children's children who I will never know, if they can be better off, like I've paid, like whoever made the original money paid for it, and there's no reason why they can't, you know, let their family benefit from it.
Well, that's capitalism, not nepotism.
Well, I mean, just the idea that, you know,
getting a job with a nuclear commission or whatever because your dad's who he is, and not because of your credentials. That's nepotism.
Yeah,
that's what I was talking about when I'm talking about nepotism. Is that?
Yeah, I get it. I'm saying that there's a libertarian argument that says that nepotism isn't necessarily terrible or immoral, I guess. However, I still don't like it. And it's one of those things where, you know,
I mean, it's like that whole mafia Godfather thing.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, and
why I hated when people started, using, "Oh, you have privilege," and I was like, some people do, and I have some privileges, and other people have other privileges, but it's a mixed bag, and nothing I can do about it.
You telling me you believe in white privilege? Because
I don't believe.
all
I
of
just
the, all of the system right now is set up for people that ain't white.
Well, yeah.
All of the advantages are set that direction, not for white people.
It gets a little hard to take systemic oppression when I look at like the things I want to try to break into. Flat out say don't apply. I'm sorry. It's kind of an issue for me. But at the same time, when they want to say things like, "Oh, I grew up in a 2-parent household, so I have privilege," it's like, no, I don't. My parents just were responsible. That's not privilege. Like, it's a benefit to me, but they paid for it. Like, my parents, they got divorced eventually when I was out of the house, but they stayed together because it was what they knew it was better for the kids. So I'm okay with that, I guess. I don't know. It's not necessary. I don't see how that's a privilege versus,
right.
Well, that's just culturally better to have intact families.
I don't think it's a privilege either. I think that's a bullshit excuse.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying is that, like, I don't believe in white privilege because all of the privileges are handed out towards every other ethnic group except for white people.
Well,
that's the way it is right now. You can't, so a great example is try to sell a piece of fiction and them know you're white versus try to sell a piece of fiction and them know you're not white and or a special interest category.
Yeah. There was this. I mean, there's an author that I have enjoyed and learned things from her YouTube videos. But I remember one time she said this thing about how it's basically middle-aged white guys that complain about not being able to publish. And I'm like, well, you're neither a middle-aged person, nor are you white, well, she might be white, I don't know. But she's not a guy. And I'm like, yeah, so you have no idea what you're talking about. Like, this idea, like, if you honestly believe that there's nothing to the idea that there are barriers for straight white men to publish, you have not looked at publishing.
Right. You're not looking at the same guidelines I am.
Yeah. There are lots of them that purposely exclude straight white males. And
it's less and less now, though. I mean, there has been a change, a shift. But if you notice, that shift started to come closer to election time. It's like they recognize that there are a lot of people that's sick of it. So
well, I mean, again, I don't believe the idea that you can't get published. If I thought I could not get published, I would probably stop. And I do get published. So, again, that if you want to argue that means that obviously there are opportunities, I would say, yeah, there are opportunities. However, there are fewer of them.
right.
And through no fault of my own. These are immutable characteristics, and you can't say
in between as well.
Yeah. Also, there's the idea that women weren't allowed to publish and stuff like that is kind of ridiculous.
Right.
They didn't publish as much, but they read and they did get published. Wasn't as cool. They couldn't enter into contracts. I understand that at times. There's a history of barriers to them, and I think you can recognize that. Yeah, there were barriers. It wasn't like it was forbidden, but there were barriers. I can accept that. But that doesn't mean the solution is to tear the barriers down, not to build up barriers for some other group. It just doesn't make sense. And
Right,
the idea that you need to have special publications for special groups.
I think you had it more when you said, sorry, you don't need to tear. You don't need the barriers at all, really.
Right, you shouldn't.
But if you're putting barriers on somebody else, it takes away the validation of your skill and all the work that you've done to get there.
I agree.
I used to have this argument because there's an all-woman tattoo convention.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the way it's built, all women. Like, well, first of all, I got into tattooing because of a woman, really. There was a woman, she tattooed under Suzanne. For some reason, the last name's not coming to me. But
Getting old.
she was an art teacher in Ann Arbor before she was a tattoo artist.
Oh, yeah.
And when she started to get into tattooing, you know, everybody called her all the names that they call people that have tattoos, right? Like
Okay.
whore and slut and everything else, just because she had tattoos, while she was a respected art teacher that just left the profession to go learn to tattoo. She had learned about tattooing. She was exceptional. She was an exceptional artist that applied that art to the skill of tattooing. So a lot of what we see nowadays, as far as you see it in tattoos, is a result directly of Suzanne. Another one is Carrie Barba. So what they did was they fought against the norm. They went into a field that people didn't think women should be in. But do you know who didn't care about them being women?
The tattoo artists?
People in that field.
Yeah.
Right? So
Well, it makes perfect sense to me.
not a single one of them, not Suzanne, not Carrie Barba or whatever, was held back because they were a woman as far as the tattoo industry. It's an industry, and people are looking for good tattoos. They see a tattoo artist doing good tattoos, they're sold, right? So competition-wise, for them to get into magazines and become award-winning artists and all this, they had to go against men. They had to go against a whole shitload of men. Because in the 70s, there was very few women in the industry.
Is that, though, partially based on the machismo of tattoos? You know,
I don't think so, as much as, like, there's a stigma that's related to tattoos that, you know, women avoided for a long time until they started considering it an art. And that's why I'm bringing up Carrie Barba, and that's why I'm bringing up Suzanne Fowler. Because they were. They went up against the stigma and showed that they were not only good in the skin trade, like in doing tattoos on skin, but they raised the level to art. I mean, that's not to say that there were no other artists that were great artists that got into tattooing, but these two women affected it because they came in at the time when the tattoo magazines were starting to come out, and they were at their height, right?
Yeah.
And like, so the famous Marlon Brando Rebel Without a Cause portrait,
Yeah.
where he's on the motorcycle and he's laying on the motorcycle, and usually it's a back piece that's vertical on the back, and it's just showing a down shot of him. That's Suzanne. She did that first. She did like some of the most famous Marilyn Monroe stuff, and
Now, are you talking about James Dean, Rebel Without a
No.
Cause?
no, I might be naming the wrong movie, but it's Brando on the motorcycle.
Okay.
I might be misnaming the movie, but it is Marlon Brando.
The wild one, maybe?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Got a leather hat.
Yeah.
That wouldn't look out of place in the gay bar nowadays.
Well, if he's in Marion or around these parts, I might get mobbed if I say the wrong thing about James Dean. So I don't know why there's a James Dean
I
festival.
wasn't talking about James Dean anyway, but
I know. I'm just
the point even wasn't anything negative about that. It was about the art that captured the portrait that was such a famous portrait. But it was a woman doing it in a world that pretty much men dominated. So when this other contest came about that was saying only women can compete, like, you just took away all the stuff that Carrie Barba and Suzanne Fowler fought for. So that you wouldn't have to face up against gods. So that's like I don't know, creating an alternate sports team because you don't think women are going to do well in a men's sport, which their bodies are different, but their talents aren't different. You know, so they didn't need their own, like, a women's tattoo contest. There were plenty of women winning tattoo contests, and plenty of women. Julie Moon from Seabrook, New Hampshire, she's another big name in the industry. There are a lot of names that are worthy in the industry, but they got there because they were skilled, not because somebody put them in a contest and disallowed any male competitors. Like, it didn't matter that there were male competitors.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, I understand it in sports where you have a physical difference, but in the arts, I don't get it. And you know, I've seen things that are just, it's so ridiculous the way they treat. Like, they'll say male writers can't write a female protagonist. It's like, men have written female protagonists forever. And women have written male protagonists, and it really depends on the individual, and it has nothing to do. I'm sorry, it's your brain that you're working with, not your junk. And I get annoyed with it when I see, and it normally tends to be one-sided. It normally tends to be that men can't write women, but women can write men because they know exactly what it's like, and it's like, you know as much as I understand about women. You know what I mean? Like, there are things that you don't even know you don't know. So you have to focus on
in the men and women categories. Like, for instance, if you raised with 3 sisters and you're one guy,
right?
You know a lot more about women and the women's condition than the average person. Even some of those women.
And sometimes,
and the opposite way around too. I've known, like, Caitlin was a tomboy. Man, she was a tomboy till she wasn't a tomboy anymore, you know?
I also think it's about, it's empathy. And men have empathy, and it's also about observation. I mean, just the other day,
A lot of this observation.
I was just lying in bed, and my wife got up and she put her hair back into a ponytail type thing, and I'm watching her do this, and she thought I was getting creepy with her because I'm just staring at her, but she's my wife, I'm allowed to. But anyway, she does this thing, she just puts her hair back, and she's so efficient at it, like I don't think she gave it a second thought. But I'm sitting there watching this as a bald guy, and I'm thinking, I bet you I would not be able to do it anywhere near that well. Like if I had hair and I had to put it in a ponytail like she just did, there would be stuff falling out everywhere, and it would look trashy. And she just does it. Like there are certain things, she just does, and it's beautiful to watch. It's delightful to observe and just see some of the things that she's different than me, and I find it fascinating. And I think good writers and good artists, they're curious about all that stuff. So, they're watching. There's a reason. I mean, let's face it. It's not a bad perk sometimes to be an artist, because you get to see things that maybe you wouldn't normally get to see, and that's okay by me.
It's really weird how many people look at artists as weirdos because of that.
Yeah, well,
like I know a lot of artists that they're worried about asking somebody to model for them, because people take it weird. Some people do, some people don't. But most people don't understand the attraction.
Oh, yeah, it's also, I mean, anyone, at least in my experience, being in an art school that had nude models, and we had guys sometimes, we had girls sometimes, and for most of the artists, what they really care about is how well you can hold still, and if you have to move, can you go back to the same shape, relatively quickly so you can draw it? It is. I'm not going to say there's no sexual tension at all, especially the first time when some, beautiful woman she's naked, obviously, but you're there for a job.
Really didn't have that kind of problem. What I was looking for with models most of the time, was for them to be able to stretch, because I wanted to see their muscle tone.
Well, I get that.
And when you hyper focus on like their muscle tone, I mean, you're not really focusing on the things that you would focus on outside of it. As a tattoo artist, I learned that trick. You had to, because man, I've tattooed pretty much everything you can tattoo, and you have to have that barrier, and it's not so much for like just them, it's for you too, because it will drive you nuts if you're tattooing 700 fucking bikini lines, or lower in a week, right?
Right.
And summertimes that can happen. So you really have to find a way to disassociate. And I imagine it's that way with doctors.
Yeah. Because you've got a job to do. I mean, you can appreciate beauty everywhere, but you've got a job to focus.
Once we went back behind the counter, then it was like a mechanic. I'm looking at my canvas, what I'm going to do on that canvas. You know what I mean? And everything else is everything else is just parts. It's like looking at a motorcycle or whatever.
Right.
So that's not an easy mentality to develop, but once you do, and I developed that fortunately before I was worried about how I was going to work with a model, right?
Right.
Like, well, that's a lot of the models that I worked with, I paid them in tattoo trade, you know. That was a benefit of being a tattoo artist, is that I could say, okay, I'll trade you X amount of time for X amount of time, right?
Right.
And it was pretty fair. But yeah, like, I had to make that distinction. I had to make that point where the girls that are coming back to get tattooed from me are not, you know, they're not just girls. They're just body parts. Because if I looked at them as women, like if women who are showing me body parts out, like I had the counter was my barrier.
Yeah.
And if a woman's showing me body parts out in the front room, yeah, I might ogle. Because it's not, she's got no expectation of privacy. She's not looking for privacy.
Right.
So in that case, my brain's not this. It's not the same creature as when I'm going back behind. When I go back behind, I don't want anything sexual. I don't want my brain going anywhere near sexual stuff when I go behind the counter, because what I'm doing is a job, and this is the difference between tattooing and drawing naked women or painting naked women, is that I have to touch that body part.
Yeah.
And like if, for instance, if a woman wants a tattoo on her boob, and a lot of women go for the under boob thing nowadays. They're like, they're doing the side of their boob, and you have to lift their boob up to go underneath. Well,
right.
if you're looking at it like, oh, I'm looking at her nipple or whatever, I can't very well do my job when I'm actually having to stretch skin, move skin. Those are actually harder places to tattoo. But if you have that mentality of like, oh, look at her nipple or look at her boob or look at her whatever, it makes it a hell of a lot harder to do that job.
Well, it's kind of funny because, you know, they talk about people don't want to be objectified, but in a way you kind of have to, kind of turn them into objects. Like, you're not really looking at a person because you're not trying to have that connection. You're just trying to have, you know, the
right.
reference
But
material.
it's a different kind of object. It's
yeah,
like,
but it's kind of funny though, because
you're turning it into a non-sexual object. So
yeah,
you're turning them into a piece of part of a gasoline tank or you know, it's.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess
I'm saying that all.
My thing is, I mean, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to complicate it. We're just going to go with that. It's too late.
What's that?
Well, it's just, yeah. Whenever anyone says, you know, don't objectify me, I'm like, I don't find objects attractive. I don't know what you know. It's like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, I want a human being. You know, like that's. I don't know. So I've never quite understood the don't objectify me, and I was like, well, okay. And I understand the concept. I just, if I'm attracted to you, I don't think I'm going to objectify you, because I don't get turned on by objects. That's all.
Oh, so you're not pansexual.
Yeah, I am not pansexual.
You're
right.
not Window Calrissian.
Yeah.
So explain to me, now that subject's been broached,
Oh my God.
how is Lando Calrissian a pansexual but totally blowing fucking C-3PO off when he's talking to him?
Are you saying that C-3PO is quite the catch? And
Well,
you should be like
I'm
drooling
saying,
all over him?
C-3PO is designed to look prettier than a toaster.
That is true. That is true.
But
And
he's actually talking to him, and he's trying to make his acquaintance. Nice to meet you, and all this. If he's really, I love everything. I love robots. I love ships.
Yeah.
I love toasters. I love whatever.
Yeah.
Then why is it that he blows C3PO up? It's just another one of those aftermarket. It doesn't work because of the aftermarket nature of it.
Yeah.
I wasn't really expecting you to give me an answer. Just
No, I completely. It's a good point. Like character wise, and I
that's like
suppose.
why doesn't Darth Vader recognize him, right?
Oh
when
yeah.
When you strap to Chewbacca's back, and
Yeah.
we all, I'm sure you've already thought of that too, but it's just like, why isn't that a thing? Because it's
yeah, I don't know why George Lucas decided, you know what, we're going to make this as convoluted as hell. Like, did no one say to him, it doesn't really make sense if Anakin built C-3PO? Like, it just, all you have to do is not do that. You know,
I think he wanted to keep that comedy relief in there with characters you were familiar with, and he just cheated to do it instead of admitting he cheated. You know,
I guess
it
I
just seems so. Why wouldn't you use different robots or whatever? The answer is because he wanted the crowd to relate to C-3PO already.
yeah, the member berries.
So I'm changing the hue,
Yeah.
but I'm not changing the value. Like, it's getting lighter. Yeah, again, that's not for you. It's for, well, I mean, it's for you if you want it, but it's for those that are wondering why I'm using a cream color over blues and stuff. That's not an accident. That's an intended move, because I want to show where the internal light source is versus where the external light source is.
Oh, hi, Mark. Are you a Talking Heads fan, Mark? A talking head? You know, like, did you find yourself living in a shotgun shack or something? Or find yourself in another part of the world? Or
behind the wheel of a large automobile, or in a beautiful house with a beautiful wife, and you ask, how did I get here?
When you said, what is this place? How did I get here? It just reminded me of once in a lifetime. That's all.
So Brett's a Talking Heads fan.
I am going to talk. Well, I wouldn't say.
Well, enough to know what the fuck.
Yeah, I enough to know.
What does that mean?
I know enough to know their bigger hits, but I probably know two of them. Once in a Lifetime and Burning Down the House, and that's probably about all I can think of. Talking Heads.
Yeah, and the one thing I would have been able to think of is Burning Down the House, because that's what I thought of when you said it, and I was like, wait a minute, I don't think that's Talking Heads. I wasn't sure.
There's a really good, at least I think it's a really good cover of that with Tom Jones and I forget the girl's name. Anyway, if you go on YouTube and look at Burning House Tom Jones, I'm sure you'd find it. Now, it's obviously more of a dance thing, and if that's not your style, you're not going to like it. That's fine. But I just
it's not.
I have an appreciation for Tom Jones. Like, I'm not a big fan of a lot of his work, but I do appreciate his ability. Hey, Allison would like to know, how long have you been painting on this piece? And if I had to guess, this is the fourth one of this stream. Yeah, part 4. So
the difficult thing when we talk about how long this has been is that I don't paint this when I'm not on stream.
Right. So, and sometimes on the stream, like last time, you were drawing circles for somebody. The guy
showing somebody how to construct a figure, yeah.
Right. So it wasn't working on this the entire time. But I mean, if you just the streaming part,
probably 12 hours as far as stream goes, but
right.
Like I said, like he was saying, like sometimes I'm talking and we'll break away from it, or I'll.
So currently, no more than 12
or something.
hours.
I always say too, never worry about how long it takes, as long as you get where you're going. There's no shame in taking longer for a piece if it turns out the way you like it, because of it. I've seen that mentality too. You got to get a piece done, and you got to get it out right away. No, you don't.
Yeah, that's the Steve Jobs mentality of artistship.
Yeah, you don't have to rush it out. You have to be happy with it when it's done. This whole piece for me is playing around, because it originally started as something else, and now it's kind of, I say spiteful, but I don't really mean spiteful. I was finishing it to say, hey, look what you could have got, but now it's going to be in the hands of some lucky winner. But now it's just fun. Just having.
It's pretty dope.
Rich, what's your opinion on Hugh Syme?
That's the one that does Rush covers.
Well, he did. I mean, among other things. But yeah, he's also done, like Megadeth and Aerosmith.
I don't know if I have a whole lot of what.
He's done stuff for Megadeth, and he's done stuff for Aerosmith, and he's done. I mean, a lot of people.
What did he do for Megadeth?
Oh, one.
The like P-cells or whatever.
Yeah, probably somewhere around there. Hugh Syme album covers. Which I think Hugh Syme is amazing. Okay, so he did a Queensryche cover. That's neat. Oh, he did a Bon Jovi one too, I think. Yeah. Wow. God, there are a lot of them.
Yeah, well, I guess the short answer is I don't know him enough to know his name. I know his name because you've said it a few times. Like I've never really gone like, wow, that's just my mind's blown from that Rush cover. I mean, I liked the one that had stones and stuff on it. But...
yeah, Test for Echo. That one was pretty cool. So Euthanasia, he did.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that cover.
Oh, I think that one's neat. Just with
babies
on a clothesline.
Yeah, not for me. Like I like the older covers better. I mean, to a point. Like I like the P-cells cover. I like the Rust in Peace cover.
Wow, I did not know you did all of this. I didn't know this page existed. I just, yeah. I really do love his stuff. Oh, Iron Maiden, the X Factor.
Oh boy.
I wonder.
Derek Briggs is my Iron Maiden guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's being bent already.
I mean, he does a lot of stuff for Dream Theater too, and
or Hugh
Syme. It's just neat stuff, but I just find it cool. I mean, there are some times where I look at something and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. But man, when he hits it out of the park for me, I could just some of the juxtapositions that he has. There's one that he did for Rush that just I think it's part of the Signals album. It might be it's either Signals or Power Windows. I don't remember. There's the guy's just I swear it reminds me of Fort Wayne, which is really weird, but it just does. And
is he an Indiana artist?
I think he lives in Indiana now. Like I know the guy. I've met him in Indianapolis. He uses a friend of mine to frame his artwork now. So yeah, I was like, oh my god. Like, so I've been able to go and meet him, and I have a book signed by him and stuff. And so I think he's in Indiana. If I was him, I would be in Indiana because cost of living is pretty cheap. Although there are some legal things that I don't know if he partakes in them. He might not like it as much because I think we're surrounded by states that allow at least some kind of marijuana usage, and Indiana just nope, not us. Well, Rich, I hate to do this to you again, but it's 11 o'clock. And
you keep hating to do it, but you keep doing it.
Well, just because I hate to do it doesn't mean I don't have to do it.
You don't really hate to do it because you do it all the time.
That's not true. Like, I eat vegetables, not because I necessarily want to, but because I should.
I'm eating vegetables.
There are a lot of things wrong with eating vegetables. But like they taste like vegetables. But, whatever. Actually, my son made a really delightful pasta tonight with spinach and stuff in it, and it was great. I feel kind of bad, like I get guilty because he's cooking dinner most nights now, but he likes to cook, and I'm more than happy to let him. I guess he's cooked more for me than I ever cooked for my parents, and I cooked stuff for my parents before, but just not as consistently and not like dinner. Like I would make breakfast or lunch normally. I would rarely ever make dinner. So I'm thrilled. Hey, Joe said, Rich, put up Yara challenge tomorrow. I hope I pronounced it.
Yaira.
Yaira? Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's the Eric July Yaira thing. And I think Joe actually already put it up. I am not even interested, so no thanks. But if you interested, I won't step on your toes.
I have a weird challenge that I would like to see. So, you know how the Cenobite...
I'm a member of the server and have not yet even commented on the server.
I'm just saying, I would like to see this. That the... you know how the Cenobites are inspired by... gore and BDSM stuff.
You know that Dale Keown has Cenobites in pit, right? That are not what you think of Cenobites.
Okay, I will believe that. That's fine.
They're lizards with sharp teeth. Bat wings.
When if you think about the general original design of the Cenobites, and I'll probably go with the film versus the book because, although whatever, I mean the book is a little weirder, but it's still to some extent kink based, and I kind of wonder what would if one was on the furry scale. Like I'm not a furry, and I'm not really interested in that kind of kink, but I know people have it, and a more animalistic Cenobite might be kind of neat. Just saying. Just thought. Anyway.
Well, that probably won't be a challenge in the David Finch fan server because it's generally for 13-year-olds and up.
Okay. Everything I just said, we'll just ignore. Because once you said it's for 13-year-olds, it's like, oh, God, that's creepy. Never mind.
Right.
Yep. That is not what I want to see.
Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of people in there that are not 13, but
but
they could be very well 13-year-olds. Matter of fact, 13-year-olds from a different country, too.
Right. So, yeah, that's cool.
I try to look at everyone that's talking like they're a 13-year-old. That probably pisses a lot of them off. But, I'd rather be safe than sorry, so. Anyway. Especially when it comes to kids.
I agree. That's how I feel with, like I said earlier, like if I wanted to show that clip from The Godfather to a high school class, I'd do it in a heartbeat. Not a problem. The idea that cop getting shot in the head, especially in that, it's a tiny little hole and a little bit of blood versus, half the stuff you can see on regular TV now.
Oh, they probably seen worse.
Oh, yeah. But when it's, seventh grader, I'm like,
PG-13.
So whatever. Anyway, I got to go. I had an immense amount of fun. Thank you. And I will also tell you this, not that I'm going to blow smoke up your butt, because I don't really need to do that, but earlier, like when you started, it was kind of mustard and brown, and now it's like all this cool red and bluish type stuff going on, and it's really starting to pop. So definitely enjoy. I love those stages. I love it when it's like it looks one thing, and then by the end of the night, it looks radically different, but at the same time, it's the same thing. It's cool. So keep doing what you're doing, man. I will talk to you.
I think I'm going to be all that long after this anyway.
All right. I will see you on Saturday. Probably, right? Yeah. And
yeah.
for everyone else.
Like, unless something happens to switch that until from Sunday to Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
Because
that's the demolition derby.
Eli's got his derby.
Yeah. Well, defer to Eli on that. But anyway, I will talk to you later, man.
God bless. Why wouldn't you put Yaira up tomorrow, Joe? Especially if it's your idea. No, there's other people there. We're not doing every other one. Haven't been doing every other one for a long time. If you got an idea, you're welcome to have it. That's actually the way that we were working for a while, is that whoever had the idea had it. I definitely don't have anything against it, but I don't know the return schedule if I'm going to even be there. Just because I don't have a wife, I guess. Somebody's okay with leaving the windows open. Getting black flies in. They're attracted to the paint. Well, thank you. Getting near the end. Getting there. There's some blends I've got to do. And I think then do some of that gold green again in the background. I want to also make sure that value is right on for what I wanted. I think it's going to have to be darkened up a little bit, but I think I'll tweak that Saturday. That's probably going to be what I'm doing Saturday is the final stuff. See how crappy it looks up close. That's what I got for up close. I might tweak a little bit, darkening the chest or whatever, but on gold colors, I might actually put some more blues on the backside of that. I don't want them to overshadow the shadows. But all right, man. So you're talking about you want me to take this challenge because you're gathering stuff for the next challenge. But I don't know if that'll work. Where's the other mods? You don't talk to any of them? There's like 3 more of them. None of them can do it? That seems funky. All right, well, I'm going to call this. Thanks for Allison for stopping by. Thanks, Joe, for hanging out. Thanks, Mark. I guess I'll say hey to you after if you're not still here. Oh, okay, cool. Take it because I'm probably not going to be all that often in there. There's a whole bunch of stuff popped up. So everyone that hung out, talked, likes, we'll see if they actually credit me with how many people that were talking this time. Probably not because nobody talked on Twitch. That's where I'm trying to build up the chat, but hey, all chats are good chats. So anyway, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for input. Thanks for compliments. I have a hard time saying thanks for compliments, but I shouldn't because I do appreciate them. Yeah, so good night. God bless. Much love.